Oh, hey again, in the paint booth, getting ready to spray the, well, these are lower control arms and the third member housing for the turquoise car. It's probably echoing like a mofo in here, but oh well, that's what I got. And here's the rear end housing for the turquoise car, along with the air grabber hood for the white 4-speed Dana 440 70 GTX. There's a tail panel for the GTX, 2 doors for the GTX, and a trunk lid for the GTX. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and epoxy all that stuff right now. And then after I epoxy, well, I'm pretty much gonna epoxy everything. And then I'm gonna go ahead and spray the lower control arms the correct Mopar colors, you know, where it looks like it's dipped in that, all that rust inhibitor, I forgot what it was called. Kind of like a bronzish, goldish look to it. Gonna do that for the lowers, and I'm just gonna chassis black the rear end housing after it's epoxy coated. So it may be ratty, but it'll last another 50 years. All right, well, I guess right now is kind of the boring part. Using a pretty much prep all, just wiping everything down to get fingerprints and all that crap off of it. And then I gotta blow them off again. So nothing too special at the moment, but just to give you an idea of what I'm doing. Pretty much wiping down. All right, got everything ready now in the paint booth. It's ready for epoxy. Everything's cleaned, prepped, cleaned and prepped, and then a couple of little dents were knocked out of the doors, and everything's hung and ready to go. So I've got my epoxy right here, direct metal nascent epoxy. Gonna 50-50 that right in this cup. Put it in my cheapo Harbor Freight gun, spray it on. I'm not gonna use epoxy in my good gun. It's all epoxy now. You're supposed to be able to spray over the epoxy after like 24 hours, or within 24-hour window. So this stuff is still too wet because I want to spray that cast iron color, and the control arms are still too wet to spray the color that I want. You know, the bottom of the trunk is done, the bottom of the hood is done. The tail panel is done. The rear end housing is epoxy. Now tomorrow I'm gonna chassis black it, so it's gonna look bitchin' with chassis black. And I want to do all the original markings on it too. I want to put all the original stamping, or all the original writing on it, the markings and all the colored from the factory. I think there's some white lettering that goes there. There's like a couple yellow lines, and I'll have to research it to see what it's all supposed to be again. I forgot. I know with this guy, there's supposed to be some markings on this thing too. I'm gonna put the tag back on it. And, you know, the turquoise car is supposed to be a ratty driver, but I figure while I'm at this point, I might as well restore at least everything I'm putting on the car. I'll restore it. So then later on, if I want to actually restore the car and make it all pretty turquoise, then all this shit's already done. So, yep. Come in here tomorrow and finish this stuff up. All right, I got the third member painted. This is actually a cast iron paint. It works really good. Looks just like cast iron. So now that's epoxied and painted with cast iron paint. And then I'm going to put all the paint markings and all the little factory markings on the car. You know, I think there's like 3 white dots with blue dots on it. Then there's a orange dot, and there's a marking by the fill tube, and some other markings here. I think the date code, and then rear end's painted. So I got to do the same thing. I got to put all the markings on that. So that's epoxy and chassis blacked. So then I got to put the white circle with the X through it to show that it's a sure grip. Then I got to put the big bold yellow B on it for 1969. Then I got to put the date code on it and the big bold letters and some other scribbles at the bottom and all kinds of little markings just to make it look factory. You know, again, this is just a ratty build, but it'll look cool. And also, here's the donor door for the turquoise car. You know, I got to respray the white to T3, so it's all cleaned up. All I got to do is mask it off and shoot it. And then also, I epoxied the bottom side of the air grabber hood yesterday, and I epoxied the bottom side of the trunk lid yesterday. And then here's the control arms. I sprayed the all that bronzish gold looking color on it this morning, and then once that dries all the way, I'll mask off a line and then spray the raw metal color look on it, so that way it looks like it was a factory rust dipped control arm. Doors are epoxy, I can pull those off. So yeah, more work. All right, I got the door for the turquoise car base coated. It's kind of a pain in the ass to spray right now because, you know, the door is it's 51, 54 degrees. Yeah, 54. Yeah, it doesn't want to flow out that good because it's so freaking cold. That and the epoxy's taking forever to dry. But hood's done. Hood was a pain in the ass. I had to wipe it off twice. It kept getting the contaminants in it. So, but it's all good now. Time to clear coat this thing here in a few minutes. All right, now the donor door perfectly matches the original door. Just cleared it, so it's ready to go now. But it's so cold, like I said, it's probably gonna take a couple days for that to fully dry. Which this is actually a satin clear, so actually like a matte clear, so it's gonna have kind of a sheen to it, which all the interior paint's supposed to. That way it doesn't reflect light on the driver. But yeah, that should come out nice. It's gonna look good inside there. All right. Hey, little update on the big block turquoise car. Looky here. It's got a door, and it matches. The patina is awesome. I mean, if the top of this quarter panel matched that, it'd be even better. But you know what? I'll take it. It looks great. And with the quarter panel pushed out, you know, it lines up pretty good. It's not great, but considering how foobarred this quarter panel was, I'll take it. It don't have to be pretty, because obviously if you look down here, it ain't that pretty anyway. And then got the inside of the door repainted, so that way it matches the T3 on the other door and the T3 on the dash. So I might end up pulling that door off just to repaint the T3 on it, because you can see it's kind of faded, and you know, it's got a lot of, you see all those scuff marks down there, which that's most likely someone's shoe that scuffed it up over the years. Got the armrest pads redone and painted. And then also, this is some of the front and rear suspension for the turquoise car. So you can see I tried to make the rear end look original. It's epoxied and then chassis blacked, and then, you know, from the plant they had a bunch of paint markings on them, which that right there told because these things would have been sitting on racks, just rear ends and third members on racks, hundreds of thousands of them. So what it would have, actually probably hundreds at one time anyway, but that designated that it was a sure grip rear end. This meant that it was a 1968, which I know the car is a 69, but the rear end actually had a D on it. So and this was an early 69, so they probably just used one of the last rear ends from 68. And then and then also, you know, the build date, which is D906, September of 06, and then that meant 242, which is 8 3/4 rear end. Same thing, 906, and the two blue, those have been, I know this looks like crap right here,
but that's actually what it looked like stock. I'll link a picture of a stock one, but you know, they didn't care because they were doing these things just one after one after one after one. So they just took a, you know, their paint marker or whatever they had, just you know, and done. So yeah, the 2 blue and the white meant 323, and then the orange meant sure grip, and then, you know, also the build date. I think that just meant that they had the freeze plug, or not freeze plug, but they had the they checked the oil, and that was the marketing for that. And then these guys, I welded that brace on here to stiffen the control arm, the lower brace, or gusset, and then I epoxied them, and then I sprayed them this bronze metallic looking color. That makes it look like a factory, well, kind of like a factory cosmoline, like they dipped the control arm in cosmoline. So, and they only dipped them up to like this point. So that's what the point of that was, is to make them look like a factory dipped control arm. So yeah, that's the new suspension that's gonna be going in that car. Because like I said, I want to have all new suspension, rear end, everything ready to go. So when I drop the old stuff out, I just put the new stuff in. But yeah, it's a quick update. Other than that, I'm going to be taking the car down to the TJ's shop again, so I can put it in the paint booth, because I need to spray the trunk. I need to, yeah. So I just want, once it's painted, then I can start putting the package tray. I can put the back seat, then I can start assembling all the trunk. You know, the gas tank, the filler tube. I can undercoat it. But I can start doing everything in the back. I just need to paint it first. I need to seam seal it and paint it. So that's what's holding the ass end of the car up. And then I have my new upholstery that is going to the, my buddy is an upholsterer. He's the one that did the headliner in this car. So he's gonna do the seats for me. So yeah, it'll be dynamatted, new upholstery. I mean, oh, and I ordered new door panels for it. So it'll have brand new door panels. Those ones are kind of faded. And this one on this side was junk. I mean, it was so weathered, because this window here was originally broken, that it was shattered because of the damage that was there. So now that all that's fixed, I got a new door. You know, I'm gonna put new glass in it, but you know, the door panel was junk just because it got weathered. But yeah. So that's kind of an update right now. I need to get the car down to the paint shop so that way I can make some progress on it. So, but I am still doing that. I'm gonna get the third member on the engine stand so I can assemble the third member. I got a whole rebuild kit for it. I got the 323 sure grip for it. Yeah. So, one step at a time, but it's coming.